Okay. So get this started. How does that sound volume wise? Still a bit quiet, I think. Seldom Code. Good evening. Hope you are well. Welcome in. Okay. It's always the problem when you turn the computer on for the first time in a couple of days, like to work on it, and you got to orient yourself back, and also streaming, get yourself lined up again. Probably start any day that way. Okay, so let's get Liquid Sky started up. Let's get the client started. We'll see how this goes. The goal of today's stream, or the goal of today, really for me, is to make sure interesting. To make sure that I am getting. Oh, that failed. That's an interesting problem. That's an interesting problem to have. SQL Server did not come up. So let's check this first. Oh, come on, stop all. These are all going to fail because the SQL Server didn't start. So I have a script that starts up all the little pieces. It's up SQL Server exposing 1433. An attempt was made to access a, unless I'm not running this in admin mode, which I don't believe I am normally doing. Can fix that. Let's see. I don't think that should be it, but being that everything else started fine, SQL Server's not starting from there anyway, so I don't believe this will be it. Dot services up SQL Server. Nope. Services down SQL Server. Let's see if we can shut it down that way. So I remove the container. Nope. Nothing quite like starting a stream in this way. And that's because that doesn't copy and paste, does it? Control Shift. Are you kidding me? The stream might bump if I do that. That's something I would normally do. So it's suggesting that I restart WinNat. But if I do that, I am pretty certain the stream will come down. It may be a momentary lapse, but we'll find out. Let's give it a try. It's early enough in the stream that I'm willing to risk it. Just for the education. So the suggestion is win stop, WinNat, net start, or net stop, WinNat, net start, WinNat. So, but this will bump the stream a little bit. I'm almost certain of that. Anything networking is going to bump the stream, but let's do net stop WinNat. Runs administrator. So I apologize if that caused any bump in the stream. Let's see if that changes this behavior. Yes, it did. Okay. Things wouldn't be going very well on the stream if I didn't fix that anyway. So I mean, it's not like I restarted the networking stack, but yeah. Good morning, verbally, by the way. I apologize. Okay. Let's remove that. No, don't ask again. Not right this second. Okay, Liquid Sky SQL. We got that up. Let's try running the stack again. So what I'm focusing on today is we have the dependent planning items concept. So the idea being that you can say, oh, this planning item depends on these other planning items. I've got the server code for creating the dependencies in place. However, I need to get the client code to send those dependencies. The problem being that searching the planning items on the client would require all the planning items. So I don't want to build that in because ultimately I don't want to be returning all planning items. I want to return all planning items assigned to you, or I want to allow you to search for planning items, but I don't necessarily want you to see all planning items all the time. I do want to make it kind of paged requests. So yeah, why is Kafka reset? Is there something wrong with Kafka there? Let's have a look. Localhost 8080. Yeah, maybe. This one's got 57 lag on the changes. That's interesting. Hey, it's Timmy. How you doing? Circular dependency incoming. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to tackle. So the concept is start the actual new client. Also, I do want to get. I'm thinking this weekend I might actually experiment with pushing all the changes to the new version into the Liquid Sky public app. Continue that passkeys. Go away. Okay. That's loading, so I know that. This is bugging me on receivers, but we'll... that might actually be the problem. Liquid Sky changed offset reset at offset 230. Broken one to offset beginning. So that's the problem. It doesn't know quite where it should be. Oh, cool. I started to look into Auth0 as an auth provider as well. Yeah. It's very easy to integrate with. And I like the features. It's a little bit... auth is something that I'm trying to get more into as I use it so that I can get my brain around the concept. So what we do is with Liquid Sky, we log in with it, um, and then all the authorization is handled by Liquid Sky. So, but the authentication component is there, and um, Emma struggles with trying to get the access denied redirection to work because I'm not using the identity framework and per default use the identity routes. Yeah. Whenever you do something outside of the set way. So what I want to do here is essentially, so redirects to account access, and I want it to be another route. Gotcha. But that's not hard coded in there, is it? In the framework? I haven't used enough of that. Oh, I haven't. We've got it in the developers.stream software, but I haven't really used enough of it to see that I can't change anything. It looks like all the routes are pretty much set or available. Go around thinking your glasses are clean, and then you put a bright light in front of your face and realize, no. So what I want to do is put a select or a search. So here I have the ability to search an initiative, right? And this is okay, but the initiatives are all loaded. I'm not sure I want to. I mean, and yes, all the planning items are loaded right this second. That's not really the issue, or it's not really an issue if I do it that way. But it doesn't feel correct, I suppose, to trust the fact that the planning store, and hopefully soon we'll have some different answers on how to store the data and how to keep the data cached, to the point where I'm not sure I want to use this method. So an alternative would be to use yeah, you gonna work yet? No. Oh wow, you actually are going to update. They fixed it. I solved it by provided an empty implementation for the authorization middleware result. That causes the redirection is handled by the router, which knows the correct route. Jumping in the middleware, yeah, I suppose. Oh, is it actually the middleware that actually determines the account access denied? So it's kind of a default in there. Then your solution might be the normal way if that's the case. I haven't looked through I haven't looked through those pieces. I've just been going through the identity stuff, the structured identity stuff, as we've been doing developers.stream. Okay, so this is working, that's fine. Okay, that updated. So let's go update our token. Let's get this. F12. Application. Gotcha. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure, unfortunately. I will say that the more I do of it, the more I'm like, this auth just feels um I won't say broken, but like there's just so many different aspects to the implementation that I feel like it's just a minefield of failures, and it's a wonder that any system has uh, rigid authentication authorization stuff in its place. Because yeah, title, yeah, what's n contains versus contains? I don't know, but either way, test another. Okay, so we want to do something like this, basically. Overcomplicate the setup. I mean, it's not exactly an easy problem. I'll grant them that, right? It is um, a minefield of um, different aspects to protect, and uh, configuring and managing it all can't be easy. But yeah, with some relatively simple concepts in there at the same time. Like, I need to protect a user. There's a lot of framework to try and make sure that that's. I mean, I suppose that's why there's a lot of framework, right? Because there's a lot of people that just don't know. I should do that after 20 minutes as well. Okay. So. We've got search. What I was testing there is that we do actually have I have the filtering enabled on there. I could have gone and checked the code. The identity framework seems nice at first, but I dislike the lack of interactivity because most, if not all, UI frameworks I found requires interactivity for their components. Yeah, there I'm not sure. I would say that, I mean, what they've given you is the structure. You can build on the structure, right? So you don't have to use what they give you in terms of the visual aspects of the framework. You can use the concepts and adapt those as you need. Yes, that's a lot more work, but that might be the path you need to go down. Dota, good morning. Hope you are well. Right on, GameCube controller. Yeah, they've given you the components now. They've given you the structure now. Now you just got to go and do all the hard work. Okay, so brain. Um, Focus, align. Where do I want to start here? I could start with the not the printer. Planning item store. Not store. Go to queries. I could implement a search. Computed is not what I want, right? Computed is for calculating changes based upon state differences. They'll react and change if state changes. Requirement by identifier. So this is definitely one of those beauties of GraphQL. So now I can make a different query that, so here's my planning items as it stands, say, right? And I can add all this information on. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome in. I can leave this query as stands, but now I can create a search query using the exact same structure and only get the ID and the title, and I don't have to make a new API endpoint. I don't have to implement that at all. I can just use this, and I think that's where GraphQL really starts to shine. So I've got a new case on the client I can attack using the exact same code and still achieve what I need to achieve. So we will do fetch one, public search, string, term, string, observable, and this is going to be a planning item. Planning item, and essentially we're going to take that, paste that. We're not getting everything. We're doing this slightly differently. Planning item array. Derp. We're going to get. Actually, no, we don't want planning item, do we? We kind of want a search result, but we'll worry about that in a second. So we don't need all the content inside. All we need is ID and title, because that's what we're searching on. We're not searching on. I'm not messing with description. Ultimately, we could actually hook a search up to a more powerful search system. So we could change this eventually. No, actually, nothing saying GraphQL can't do that. We'd just have a different query. And then we don't need that, but we do need a parameter here. So variables is going to come after there, and that's going to be term. And now we're going to do where I'm going to do a search filter, then where title contains term. And this, I believe, needs a variable definition. Yeah. There you go. Hi, Junk. Yeah, this is I'm using TypeScript here. This is I'm bringing up to GraphQL. So I'm actually using GraphQL to query the data from the server. So now we have a search method. That should be valid. Let's test that just because. New document, search, planning items. We'll create a different model to return in there as well because nothing. Test. There we go. So that's working. We'll create a new model because I think I don't want to make this a full planning item because then I could risk assuming that it's got all the information of a planning item. Where would that be? There. models, TypeScript file, planning item. Result, export interface, planning item result, ID, string, name, title, string. So for anyone new to the stream, I am building a project management and planning product. It's using .NET as a backend and GraphQL and TypeScript on the front end with Angular. Sorry, my brain focusing on the languages there. The reason I stream is to share the development of it, and you're more than welcome to ask any questions. If you have any thoughts or opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to join in. Not Blazer today, Mr. Deflux, and good morning. Couldn't sleep? Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. There's also a Discord linked in the cards below. Again, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions, you want to share your own projects, etc., you're more than welcome to do so. Community is small, but there's a lot of really great people in the community. So, yeah. Okay, so that planning item result, we're going to go back to our search over here. And we'll make that a planning item result. Make sure that's export star from planning item result. So we don't have to have. Please tell me didn't include another entire line. There you go, okay. So it will map and it will fit into this, I think. So it should be fine. First now, hello, how are you doing? So that gives us the search ability on title, at least, a planning item. Now I've got to go and figure out how to add this control. So what I want to do is I want to add another control similar to this, but do a search when I trigger it, and then look up this list in GraphQL. Sleep is improving. Awesome, good to hear. And I'm starting to think this screen is getting too long and probably end up with double columns at this point. My challenge is with this one, I want to select these and have them listed somehow. So you can do more than one. So I'm not quite sure this is the right control for this. Duca, hello. Good day. How's things? So how do I do that? What control is good for that? So like chips under the drop down, assorted items. Probably the best one. Not a bad idea. I don't want to do multi-select because I'm searching, right? So, hold on. New York, London. That's high. That's ugh. No, because that requires loading state, filter. But that's really messy. Well, nothing. They don't have anything in common there. Well, apart from being large, major cities. But the just five cities are listed. But I don't think that quite works because that search is janky, right? You type something, you filter it, you click it, and then you yeah. Also, um, we need this to be quite wide as a control because it needs to show a title, right? A planning item title. It might be short, but it might not be. Um, so yeah. And as always, if you have questions about what I'm doing, I don't want to always go off on an introductory liquid sky discussion, but you're more than welcome to ask. I'm happy to divert. I do not need to get the coding done. You see, this one assign projects. This works that way, but yeah, that's not going to hurt me because there's not that many projects that should be there. Thanks, do you? I don't. um, no, it's not the prime ng controls are nice. I do like them. Um, but I do want to have a UI UX overhaul of this by a professional if I can find one that will do it for relatively cheap. um, yeah. So I think the idea of the chips is probably the better idea, but the filtering is what's bugging me the most. I'm not sure I like. I'm not sure I like this control. Yeah, I'm thinking. That's the path I was heading down in terms of the layout. Is this has to be two columns? There's no good way of putting that control right at the end here, so I have to figure out the two column thing. Um, and maybe it just sits to the right as a search bar, and you list them below. Um, but yeah, I'll have to figure this out. So let's get key filter. No. Editor. Text area. Input text. Can we put? How do we put B? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Let's do the column thing first. So I don't disagree with that. That's definitely a good move. Components, add planning item. So what we're gonna do Here we go. This is where it gets all kind of fuzzy because my well, let's do a branch first. Introduce dependent planning items. Okay, we need so the application is using PrimeNG for controls and Tailwind layout. So I need 2 columns. And so we're going to need div class equals grid call 2. We want the buttons to remain down there, so that's fine. And we need div class equals. Actually, that should just be it, right? If memory serves. Looking at what I'm looking at. And then we need column. Does that give me a hint now when I do that? Yes, does give me an idea, doesn't it? Div. Don't like doing that. It always feels janky, but it'll help with the layout. Right column. Oh, awesome. We probably want to make that a bit wider now. 850 pixels. We're not leaving ourselves a lot of room there. I mean, realistically, we should be looking at 1920 by 1080 as a minimum resolution. I don't think it's reasonable to expect anything lower at this point. 1600 maybe on a less than stunning laptop or something, but likelihood is you're going to be looking at 1920 by 1080 in today's world, especially considering the business that this is intended to be addressed at. So I'm not going to panic too much about a little bit more width, but okay, if you're a 1024, what? Oh, did I need to? If you're on a 1024 monitor, that's a full screen. But if you're on a 1024 monitor in 2025, then your business isn't likely to be paying for a product like this. Okay, we need a gap as well, I think. So yeah, gap. That's what I want. So we need to put a gap of. Thank you for the follow. 2. Let's do that. Okay. And let's see what happens. Div class equals field. Div. So UI is not my strong point. Not something I'm super happy being in, but I realize the importance of it. Label for dependent planning items. Class equals field label. Dependencies. I don't need to be explicit all the time. It should actually be kind of apparent what that is. Like, you should understand what this means. This is what I would deem this system is an expert system. You're only going to get the most out of it when you are an expert in the system. Yes, it should be intuitive, but I feel that you shouldn't have to handhold the user through every single thing once you get to more advanced concepts. So you could pick up this system and create data, right? There's no question you could do that. You could understand roughly the relationships between things. You could kind of make your way through relatively simply. But at some point, it's going to have more advanced features explained. If you look at Jira, Jira is not an out of the box, everything makes sense system. What we'll do is we'll make this more and more a component of the system, and it'll make more sense once you start to use it and see it. But I'm not going to worry about dependent planning items. I'm not going to be explicit there. You should have a clue what that actually looks like. So we need to, I think it's just a text field. So we need icon field. We need this, and this is going to be PI search. Not in this version of the application. This version is intended to be desktop driven. Mobile would be a different concern. Would it be nice to make it mobile friendly? Yes, but there's an awful lot of information to display. I think the entire layout would need to be built differently for a mobile usage. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing my energy on making it work first, and if we feel that there's a mobile client benefit later on, we'll at least have all the data and all the touch points to build a truly mobile friendly. But if I start going down that path now, I'm going to be in trouble. So this is an interesting challenge because this is not a form control. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so we have dependencies. Don't like that gap. It's really. Can I set gap x for? I didn't do anything, did I? Um, so let's put. Can we put a? I'm Oh, you working on that feature, deflux? Are you coming on board as the mobile developer? I mean, if you're going to set a 5-day delivery timeline, then I feel you can back that up. No, I will not. I will not divert. That's just what the Agile software says we should do. Also curious if you would do I18N as well. So the answer is yes. It would be really great to do that. I think there's a lot of things. Well, having never done that fully in an application before, I've never really done that as part of any app I've really built. Figuring out what that means and how it's done effectively. I mean, I've seen implementations, and it does require a lot of effort because obviously I can't just put the word dependencies there. I can't just put initiative there. They've got to be translatable lookups. You've got to figure out that structure, and there's all sorts of things that I'm not accounting for in this, right? Because the reality is I need to get a product built. And if I focus on the nuances of things like that too soon, then the concepts of the product won't get shown. But I'll have spent months and months and months working on some of those pieces because it will take a significant amount of time to change that. The way Liquid Sky is built, the platform as a whole, the client it sits on top of the gateway. It has the access to the API. So if I want to rebuild a new client or I want to build something else, I can use GraphQL and all the API endpoints to build a new client in whatever I want to build it in. So I don't have any issue with changing that out later on. Dealing with language, dealing with like accessibility, all those things are challenges, yes, and they need to be overcome. You know, but yeah, as Satimi says, right? I need an MVP. I need something that represents what it is I'm trying to show. And yeah. So do I want to tackle that? Yes. Have I thought about how I'm going to tackle it? No. Am I allowing for it in what I'm doing? No, because I'm not. I don't have a great belief in trying to build for things I'm not quite sure about yet. So yeah. But there actually are in Angular there are there is actually a method of doing internationalization and localization built into the framework. Um, um, so you can actually do localization. Um, so it would be a pass of that at this case, at this point. Things like dates, obviously. Um, but yeah, you have to kind of build things out and allow for them, right? You can't just use, yeah. So we'll have to take a look later on, but for right now, it's not something that well, also I don't speak multiple languages, so it would be quite the quite the effort um, as well. So let's figure out how we put in this control. So this will become a component of its own, right? Because there's no way this is actually I probably do want to make it a component straight out of the box. So what I'm thinking is as rather than have so tags not a bad idea, but basically just where are you? Requirements. Find one with tasks. There you go. So similar to this, where we show the planning item and its status, which means that I probably want to include the status in that query. Status. Yeah. Uh, There you go. It's mapping, so that should be fine. So we probably want to do. This is a weird control though. Yeah, this is actually a very weird control. What do we call this? What do we call this? We call this a planning item search, but it's not a search. Lookup, maybe? Planning item lookup. Skip tests. Feel bad default because I kind of read your comment but didn't read it out on the stream because you're just having fun. Okay, so let's go to edit planning item here. So this control so we're going to use this in multiple ways. I think I have, yeah, public ID. Doesn't need to be a signal, so that's fine. ID or lookup. You fail at programming. Do that, and then let's do app planning item lookup ID equals dependent planning items. So that should leave us with the same control. There you go. And that should be ID. Dear. Why is that not? Planning items. That. We'll default it. It should still be valid now. Not that one. That one. Come on. There you go. Dependent planning items. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what we want to have happen is if results, we want to have that when this model changes, so we're gonna put this to a model. When the model changes, we want to get the results. So we're going to do public results equals computed, right? It's a computer signal, and we're going to make this return as an item result. Right. Right. And we're going to have public search or term as a signal string. I want signal blank, and then we want const term equals this dot term. So that, from what I know so far about signals, that actually now subscribes this computed property to that value changing. Good afternoon, Rambling Geek. Hope you're well. So now when we change this, this should fire, right? So console.log. Let's do it that way. Let me do this, and let's do ng model equal term. I don't know if that'll do what I want it to do, but let's find out. Right. Unsupported expression of two-way binding. Bind signal to ng model. I'm learning about app vars with SQL. How fun. App vars. ng model. Doesn't ring a bell right this second, but if you want to use model for usage with ng model, if you want to use signal for usage with ng model, right, but that doesn't, is it just it doesn't two-way bind, or it doesn't work out right? Planning item lookup component, line 7.5. If results. No. My face slowly was screwing up into a ball when I was told to use them. I gotta fit. What are you actually talking about with app vars? Now I've got to know what you're talking about. What are app vars and how to interact with them? I'm gonna hope that's when I'm away from the screen keyword is the time when I figure out a bug. A way to store like a code table all in one table on the database. It's not an actual, so app vars is a way to store like a code table all in one table on the database. You mean serializing the data of the application into the database, or not quite sure I follow. Import, refactor to signal import, import not required, ng model user. Linked signal. So we have to do gotcha. So what they're saying there is you need to do ng model that, and then ng model change equals term dot set event. Oh, really? Restream, stop talking. App vars, a value stored in a database that acts as configuration settings for an application. These values can be dynamically changed without modifying the application code. Ah, gotcha. Okay. So okay, so you just okay. It's a lookup table. It's not a first. It's not a. It's not a concept you're talking about though. It's a, yeah. Basically, like putting your app settings inside the database. Testing. There you go. Oh, call up. But rather than having a lookup table for each thing, it's a lookup table for everything in one table. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to do. This is going to be an interesting one because we can't. So we need to do this. So to get this working, we're going to need a read-only store equals inject planning items store. That's going to give us the data store so we can do that query. I mean, I've seen some pretty horrendous implementations of that over the years, storing everything in the database. It makes sense if to make sure your configurations distributed properly, and you don't have to worry about your app settings coming from your deployment. Yeah. Okay. So the problem here is we're going to have to await. Does this cause a problem? Await store dot search term. Does that actually? Oh no, because I don't have the actual. No, I didn't put the actual planning item store version in there. I've just put the API. This does beg a question. Do I need to have so this isn't going to affect the store at all. So do I need it in the store? I probably don't. I can probably get away with this without using store. It's not ideal, but I think I prefer this than creating something on the store. I prefer that. Oh, that returns unobservable, doesn't it? Let results equals that. That. Observables and promises. They will. I'm not sure they will ever sit right in my head. I don't need last value from. Do I need? I want to show the. So I'm not looking. I'm looking to provide the the list to select from at this point. We'll have the selected list below it, and then we'll overlay this so it looks like a search box. For each at 4, let result results track result ID. That should be a UL li result dot title result dot status. Worry about the statuses afterwards. So statuses is something that actually I need to create an item for, because that is something that needs to be tracked. Status configurable status. Need to be configurable. Review 04/15/2025. DB client project. Yes. So move that out to the future. Statuses, I think, need to have. We need to understand what a complete and this is done status is, and everything else in between should be configurable by the user. Potentially able to highlight, like, okay, what is this a good? Is it a positive? Is it negative? Is it a what's an in progress state thing? But yeah. Right. So the idea here is we'll fire that service off. Actually, might have done some of that. No, not yet. I didn't save it, did I? I did. What does that mean to do that? Yeah, that's what I figured. What am I looking for here? If I subscribe to this, then I'm going to have to return a promise, which I'm going to have to resolve the promise. So I'm going to have weird looking computed. Hi, Race Peace Day. How you doing? Just cache everything. That is a solution. Um, so right now I'm implementing the go to the server, query this every time. In theory, I could query what I have in the planning item store, but I don't know if I have the full collection or partial collection. And what do I cache, right? This could be, yeah. Gotta figure out where as well. Um, so we're going to, yeah, I can't avoid the subscribe here, can I? That I know of. I only know one way. So we're gonna return this. So we're gonna return. Yeah. So the way I've done this already is new promise, planning item, result, array, and then that does that. No, resolver, and then we do that. We do resolver results. And that means on the client side, we end up with that jank somewhere. Because that's the signal which returns a promise. And it's with some weird junk like that, which I don't like. So how do I do this? How do I do this neatly? Well, first value from will give me the first result, but it won't. Like if I do, so you're talking this. Are you talking first value from like that version? And then you can do that like that. But that'll pop the first entry, won't it? And I think that still makes that a promise anyway. Yeah, it's a signal of a promise anyway. Anytime you use a wait, it becomes a promise. You still end up with some. Oh, no, it's not that. It's that's how you do that. Let's see if it works. That's actually not how we do this. I know how to do this now. Um, um, div ng if equal results to async let results. I think it's that one. And then here we just need to do that. And that should be the equivalent. But I think what we'll end up with is, okay. It works. We don't want to do everything though. So, so sorry, I thought, so hold on. What's first value from do then? I thought I was using that earlier on to get a single value. Converts from observable to a promise by subscribing to the observable and returning a promise that will resolve as soon as the first value arrives. Okay, thank you, Seldom. Appreciate it. I got it in my head that I used this to get the first value previously, and that's why I discount that, because it gives you the first, but it actually gives you, it will trigger on that first value appearing. So yeah, that's how I got it. Because look, the first number is first number. But the thing is, how is that working then? What happens if number 2 arrives? Number 3? What does that mean? My brain does not work with RxJS. Too many things to learn. So, for those newer to the stream, a lot of my background is backend development. Front end is not my preferred world. I'm much more comfortable when I'm working with distributed systems and learning in that direction over client side. But that looks like that works. However, if term dot length what we're going to do here. I'm told if you repeat, I'm a backend developer, not front end 3 times, front end becomes easier. I've repeated it so often, it's just not happening. If HTTP resource would be the way to go here. I'm willing to go down a rabbit hole. Makes a reactive HTTP request and exposes this request stats and response values of writable resource. Well, no, because I'm using GraphQL, and that's used basically around a get, and GraphQL is not a get, so I couldn't do that from that perspective. But that would be a way if I had an API hooked up to it, for certain. And also, isn't that new in Angular 19.2 resources stuff? That's pretty new, I believe. How do I return a default here? There's the question. If If term length equals 0, return so nothing. We want to limit that, don't we? We don't want that to be an infinite list. Also, we want to debounce it. I don't want to. I don't want to fire a request every time, because what you see here is every single letter is triggering that change, that query. Planning. Yeah, I want to like 400 millisecond gap between, which gives us enough time to. I mean, if you're finger pecking, nothing's going to save that. Beauty. That's hilarious. Maybe use debounce somewhere else. Yeah. But I don't think this is what I want. Let me see. New planning item. No, that's still hitting. I need the input. I need it over here. So I want to say, don't fire this off. Debounce. It's not debouncing effect. It's debouncing computed. I want. Well, I want to debounce the computed trigger, right? So it's actually the signal that I need to debounce effectively. I can't too observable that. What I'm doing is, rather than keep flashing back and forth on the screen, I go off, I see if I can search something. If I can find a result, I'll share it. But ultimately, I can't see anything that gives me the ability to say. Basically, what I need to do is kind of debounce the result of this. Unless I want to go back to older methods of writing this code where I capture the input and then yeah, I could disconnect the signal from the value. So basically leave this in place, but capture the end model changed. Term updated event, then create the method, and then basically debounce in here. This becomes term string. I don't know. With JavaScript, I just feel like no matter which way I go, there's going to be some level of judgment. Like, ew, you're doing it that way. Ew, you're doing it that way. Because there just seems to be so many right ways of doing something in JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever. I don't know. Working in the client makes me feel more self-conscious than anywhere else. Like my .NET code, I'm happy writing. If I'm writing reflection and you don't like it, I don't really care. But when I'm doing this sort of stuff, where I'm working with observables, I just feel super self-conscious about it. Like everything feels like a hack, no matter which way I go. Like I don't find that clean design. And maybe it's because I just haven't done a lot of it over my career, right? I've done bits interspersed, Radio Patrick, good morning. You're doing something in Wow. There's not really a debounce time, is there? There's no debounce. There is no debounce. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. You're kidding me. That's not really a thing, is it? Yeah, you're lying to me. Okay. Okay. Morning, Apex. How you doing? I think I typoed microcontrollers. I don't think so. We're trying to not dislike JavaScript. I'm trying to figure out a good pattern for not a thing. Okay. So two observable pipe debounce search term equals to signal. Oof. Yeah, yeah. Um, so basically, what I'm trying to do is I have a search box. We're trying to be able to search a list of planning items. Um, so when I bring this up and I type planning, it will search. Apparently, it won't now because I broke it all. Um, apparently, oh yeah, because I changed the term updated. But when I type this, basically, it should show me a list of planning items, but I want to debounce it. Why is debounce necessary? So I don't hit the server with every single key press. So if I type planning, I'm going to hit P, L, A, N, N, and everyone's going to execute a search. So I want to put a 600 millisecond debounce in there, which I found is actually a pretty good sweet spot for immediate result, but enough time for most people who aren't. Like if you type P, L, A, then you'll still get that result, but it will hit the server every time. But most people aren't going to type that slowly, or they're going to paste the search in there. So yeah. But we need to debounce at the value capture because I'm using the signal here. It's happening instantaneously. So this is not the right place to debounce because it's already being fired. So something like the to observable on term, converting a signal this to an observable to then debounce it isn't going to really do anything because it's all happening in the computed. Yes, yeah, that's actually if you're using set timeout or set interval, set timeout, that's a normal way of doing it. You hand back the previous one and you end that one before you start your new one. That's a common pattern. So the debounce on this is essentially doing the same thing. But I cannot find any evidence that debounce exists. If debounce existed on model options, that'd be awesome. Because then we could just put let's have a look. Debounce ng model. I'm not sure I like the right. You must specify using the ng model options. Where's this documented? Because if I do this, ng model options is just not documented. So what are the options that I have available to me? Because that would be awesome if I could debug. Yeah, ng model options, name user. The following examples are your alternate way to set the name attribute. Here, an attribute name identified as name is used within a custom form control component. To be able to specify the ng model's name, you must specify using ng model options. Use a standalone ng model within a group. G model. Options. Here we go. Standalone update on. Gotcha. Defaults change. Okay, so we can't put a debounce in there. Okay, so that was a rabbit hole I didn't need to go down. Okay. Someone suggested that. So yeah. I meant above the computed. Above the computed in terms of this term, make this observable. I mean, the way I could do this in terms of I could put an observable and then and then feed it and get rid of the signals entirely. If I'm doing that, then there's no point in computing at all. So by doing this, this is what subscribes this computed to that signal and then changes. So if I go to observable anyway, then I don't need to do any of this and I can change it back to an older style, to using observables over signals, which is still valid. I don't see any problem with that. Alternatively here to one line's point, if I do private update timeout, equal null. This dot update timeout equals set timeout. Is it set timeout? I think it is. If this dot update timeout something like that. Set timeout. This dot term dot set term. Something like that. Is that really a thing? No. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to keep converting back and forth. There's no point if I'm using observables. It's all good. Seldom I really do appreciate the contribution. It's really fantastic to get people engaged. So I am perfectly okay with, all forms of answer because everything gets me to think about it. Right, I can look at it from a different perspective. That's why I love streaming this. Thank you very much for the follow. Set timeout returns a Node.js timeout, which apparently isn't a type I can undefined. Can you do undefined? Actually, let's just do any. That works. So that should, if we type it again, it fires, we clear it, we set the new version, and then we hit timeout, and there we go. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. New time. So taking the value. Why am I being dense? This is not getting cleared when I hit the next key press. So it's actually firing with what it was at the time it caught it. That's not right. It's been a while since I did this. Let's see. Yes, like the basically, if I turn this to an observable, right, then I can pipe and debounce that value. And then basically remove the computed. Yeah, that's just, it's probably clean anyway. So we remove this. Let's change this to be term. I think that still works. We do this as right. You don't like that. New. And then we comment out that. And ctor that. And this dot term dot pipe. Debounce time 600 dot subscribe. Alert. I think that should work. Yeah, that's fine. Let's not worry about results right this second. Yuck. Planning. Why don't you work? Thought that would work. No. Yeah, signals are just the go-to, and it's behavior subject. And there's just so many different ways of doing this. It's actually crazy. But I thought you could bind it to an observable and it would work with the, because that's the two-way binding, so it should set the value in there. I don't need that there because it's an observable, so it should be fine. I didn't miss a recycle this time around. That's awesome. So I haven't found anything that's particularly helpful from the documentation side, from the searches. So there's nothing really I've found that's worth sharing. This feels annoying. So what I'm trying to do is when I search for this, I want, ultimately we're going to make a panel that's going to pop over the top, right? It's going to show us our results. We're going to select one. It's going to show us a list underneath here of dependencies. We can then remove them if we want to, but ultimately this control is going to keep an array of dependencies, which will then be fed back as a form control into the actual planning item, so that when you hit save, you have that. When we load the items, that's going to be a different challenge, because we're going to have to look up those items. So this control is something that was kind of, I'll be honest, putting off because of the behavior. So when I load a planning item, I'm going to have an array of those things. So I'm gonna have to load the dependencies out and then pass them in as planning item results. So the planning item result is going to be a subset of planning item. Yeah, some definite challenges here. If I could just figure out to debounce that signal, let's put it back. Let's get rid of this. Let's put it back to how it was. I feel like this was close. I just don't remember how to do this properly. Just go and ask Claude quick. That's funny. That is funny. On search input. That's so basically what Claude recommends is basically we create this as a function. That's interesting. Yeah. Or is that because I'm actually using the wrong set timeout? I wonder. No, because it's a language level. It's fine. So it recommends this, which is, if you look, kind of familiar, right? Is that not? Oh, yeah, the function to call. Okay. So then basically yeah. We end up with we need an instance of that method. Ugh. I'm not sure if this is going to be any cleaner in the end when I'm looking at it. But let's try. So private debounced search. It's actually not that, it's debounce set term equals this dot debounce. This is the interesting one. I don't want to do can I do a dynamic method in here? This dot term dot set term. That'd be awesome if I could do that, but update term. So private update term string. This is, you know, I'm saying, hey, I don't want to do I don't want to jump through hoops trying to use signals and observables and stuff, but I'm jumping through hoops doing this. So this changes to become let's do 600 there. This changes to become this dot debounced set term. So we call that method, which then triggers this, which is essentially the same as what I was doing, and then updates the term in some callback. Let's see if that changes the behavior. Don't think it will somehow. It worked. Okay. I got you. Let me validate that doesn't clear. That doesn't update 9 times. Nope, it updates once. So that resulted in that. Testing. Yep. There you go. I did not fire per. So okay. So we have something. It's not perfect, but it's something. We could move that out to a shared thing because it doesn't really matter what it is. It's just a debounce method that we have available. This does give us a little bit of a play. So what we'll do, we'll get this, and I say what we'll do. The goal will be to put an overlay in here, so make this look like it's an actual search box. I didn't see anything that's even closely resembling that in PrimeNG. Hopefully I didn't miss anything there because that would be really embarrassing. Like this. Right. I think that's a build control anyway, so it's fine. Yes, it's not really a control. I'm doubting myself now. But either way, we'll put that in. We'll get the overlay in there. When you select one, it will show you similar to requirements where we show the tasks. So we'll show the planning items. I'm not going to mess around with who it's assigned to, etc. right now. We'll worry about adding extra information once we've got it working. So the goal will be for tomorrow's stream to make sure that's up and running, get that in there, and start capturing the dependent items. And we've still got some more tasks outstanding on this. So again, if we go over to the actual workload, this is the capturing it part. I'm actually doing this part. Technically, I've done that part. So we're going to add that in. And then we need the update. But once we got the added in, once we got the UI adding it in, we need this piece and then this piece. So we get the actual UI there. Okay. So not terrible. Selected we'll show here, right? So we're going to show the selected items below them, and this will be an overlay attached to this field. Angular C# is a wild mix. How so? And welcome in, Angel. From my experience, it's pretty common to see. And it's not really a mix, is it? It's, I mean, the front end and the back end. Doesn't matter what I build the front end in. The front end is being built in Angular because it's something I'm comfortable with using. Yeah. Um, the majority of C# web projects I've seen are built in. It decided to start that. I assume something with a period in it, so maybe Next.js or ASP.NET. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? The way this application is designed, this client really makes no difference what I build it in. It's a familiarity thing. I mean, good morning. Hope you're well. Um, uh, Stream is good. We've made some progress. Oh no, he uses GraphQL. What's the issue with GraphQL? So for reference for people, I am not a new developer. I am I, I am using a set of technologies here somewhat for the sake of hard to keep it secure, too hard to keep it secure. How is it any different than securing an API? So right now, I have auth in front of it. I have uh, even the WebSocket that I have right now is auth. How is it too hard to keep it secure over anything else? Genuinely curious. I'd like to learn this stuff. I do this partially to learn. No one ads to start. I should have. If you're behind an ad, just yeah. We'll give this till the end of the ad. Not lining up. So I'm going to see out the end here because I really want to ask these questions because it's good to know people's opinions on why they feel. So we'll see. It's worth asking these questions. It's worth understanding what people's, whether it's a bias because of experience or it's a bias because of giving third-party devs the tools to create custom queries places a lot of load on the backend devs to not allow for any sort of malicious malformed query. The possible attack space is much larger than that of equivalent REST API. True. If I was providing a third-party GraphQL, that'd make sense. I can definitely see that. You do have a responsibility to ensure that the data you're exposing but it also gives a lot of flexibility and a lot of options in terms of how I grab data from the server, so I don't have to create different API endpoints. Well, I suppose, I mean, I haven't seen it where it said, oh, third party queries are where it's at. Take care, Apex. Thank you very much for coming hanging out. Appreciate it. And see you again soon. Hope I'm able to hang around in your next stream and actually engage. We'll have a custom third-party API queries. I see it as a benefit for being able to flex my own application without having to create API endpoints for every scenario I come up with. In this case, I'm using the search. I'm able to add a search onto an existing query without changing the backend and creating something that I don't need. I'm not considering it as a third-party thing, and if it was a third-party thing, I'd be building a custom API for that. I wouldn't be using that. Yeah, I'm using it so that I've got an option on the back end. I'm using it because I have a view exposed database specifically for my client. I'm not even considering third party at this point. And again, if I was using a third party system, I would have all the Kafka data feed out into a separate API server that would be exposing the data I'm willing to expose. So I'd be making it a distinct design choice. In that case, the points you made about malformed queries is more intentful because I'm able to set out what data I'm willing to expose and control the access to that data and that data only. I'm not exposing my primary database. These primary databases use Kafka to distribute the data. So I can build another API, another system up here without having to affect the view that I built for my own clients. But I think that would be a very deliberate choice to do a third-party API. After years of building APIs and being asked to create an API that solves an internal case and an external case at the same time, I would not do that. I don't believe it's the best way. I will always build an explicit API for a purpose. And using Kafka here gives me that ability to be more deliberate about that. And if I wanted to expose a REST API, a RESTful API against the data for a third party, because I did have those genuine concerns, I have that option. I don't have to use the same technology I use for the client. Is it costly? Yes, there's a bit more resource, but the benefits of security and data accuracy or just pushing the relevant data to the clients are there. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always open to discussion like this because again, different people's perspectives, different people's experience, different people's opinions. You know, you can question, like, I've made a choice. Having people explain, like, I'm not a big believer in, oh no, you're using X, you shouldn't use X. Because a lot of people have done that. They'll say, oh, you shouldn't use this, and then disappear. Is your bias based on experience? Is your bias based upon other people saying that's the case? Is it actually trying to do that? Have you tried to do it in an environment that you don't control everything for and it's caused problems? Right? There's all sorts of things that can go into that opinion. And I like to understand those things so I can make those sorts of decisions. I can choose later on, if I want to build in a completely different API here. If I choose that, then I build it. And I have a lot of experience and knowledge to do it. So experience of the system, I understand what the system does. For the most part in my apps, I generally assume that third parties will be able to see exposed API endpoints anyway. The only security one uses that fall on me are then to abstract away the database calls into the API layer to make sure typing is strictly enforced. I mean, that's I get why, but it's a very defensive thing. It will tell the wrong story in your software, won't it? If you're always assuming that third parties will have access, It's a very defensive way of doing it, which will potentially change the code. I mean, again, the data that's exposed in here is the data that I deem public, right? There's no behavior in here. There's no, even if you got into this database and were able to break this database, you don't bring the rest of the system down. It is distributed for a reason. I can also build a third-party API separately. This can all be accessed, access controlled internally. This is behind a gateway. There's no. I mean, you could drive yourself crazy chasing that down. Anything's possible, but if you write the code that says anything's possible, that code will not be like. I would rather understand the use case, understand the scenario that I'm genuinely defending against, and write for that scenario than I would try and defend against every possible scenario. I drive myself crazy. I mean, again, these things should only be called anything is possible as a good use case for a source if that's a real world thing you're concerned about. Yeah. Hi, Jay. Hope you're well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I can do so many things, right? If you have access to the client, you can see the gateway methods being called. You don't understand what the backend looks like because they're all behind the gateway. So everything's routed via /GraphQL/API/whatever. You don't see those routes. Those routes can be controlled. You know, if you're invoking this from an external resource because whatever, then I can prevent that. There's things I can do. But again, my approach to the software in general is write for what I know, but be able to change and adapt for what I don't understand and don't know yet. And if a case comes along, I can identify that thing. So ultimately, a layer of logging and monitoring will go into this application. You could only call API methods strictly on the back end. But at that point, I'd just say use a reverse proxy. There's all sorts of options, but again, being super defensive isn't going to help me build an application. I've got to learn some of the lessons, and that's why I'm building the application anyway. And if I see it every day where software has holes. There's possibilities once people get to doing those things. There's entire companies built around testing those things for you, right? I can address those things, and that's what matters more. How quickly can I address things? I can secure them. These endpoints are all, you have to be authenticated. They have authorization around them, so you can't just call an endpoint without that. You have to be authenticated to go through the gateway to one of these APIs. You have to be authenticated to request data from this. It's not just open. So I can only do so much, and I'm not going to, in my world, I just don't see the benefit in trying to allow for every single thing and guard the system in a way that's, because 99% of use cases, or higher than 99%, are likely legitimate use cases. And I don't want to make my code harder to understand and harder to change. So, but I am always open to discussions like this. I really feel that it's a very important thing to ask yourself why you do certain things all the time. And it's an important piece in Like experiences like that, the things you're talking about, they're an important step in your growth as a developer. I have an attitude towards it. Maybe it might be considered a more lax attitude in some cases, but it is an attitude I have taken for many years. And yeah, it's growth. So, but I must end because I'm late to get ready for work. So, I will be. What day is it? It's Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow. We'll be doing more Liquid Sky. We'll see if we can get that extra screen up and running. If you're interested in further discussion, if you want to have a chat, there is a Discord linked in the cards below. I'm always open to talking about stuff like this. Thank you for the follow, Angel. Appreciate it. Don't forget, it's Wednesday. One Line streams on Wednesdays. He's also a .NET developer, a fantastic developer who works on his work projects right now. Also does a music stream, which I highly recommend checking out under a separate username. And yeah, so I gotta run. So we're going to array maybe who's currently on one of his more random topics, but I like Raiden maybe. Good streamer, good guy. His channel is a bit more adult than mine in terms of language, so be careful. One Line Creative. There you go. Check out the stream. So thank you all. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye all.